Hi everybody. Frames for beehives. I wanted to talk to you about how they came about and how the improvements have been made on frames since then. Traditionally, wood frames like this were used. You buy this, you can buy these either put together, or if you wanted them cheaper, you can get them unassembled and then you would put them together yourself. Traditionally, you would glue everything together and nail it or staple it to make it strong. And then when it's made up, you could either put some wax on here on the bar, or you could add some wax foundation. And this is okay, but these have a tendency to break, especially when they're full. I'm not saying all the time, but I've experienced it where these frames have come apart when it's loaded with honey, and believe me, that can make a real mess. So I'm leaving the wood frames. I'm weaning my bees off of them, and then another frame that came out, which are these plastic frames. And these plastic frames already have foundation built in, and typically what they would do is they would add some wax to these foundations and then you just put them in. Let me tell you the downside to using these frames. First, if you can see, every spot right here around the frame is a spot for hive beetles to hide into, and that's not good. Also, if you can see, and the end here, at the ends, bees can actually fit inside there. And typically what happens is when you're working with these frames, you have a tendency to crush a lot of bees in here because it doesn't seem like the bees, and why would you give them more work to do? They don't typically propolize these holes. So what you end up with is a spot for small hive beetles to hide into and crush bees every time you go into the hive. And I'm not saying that these are bad frames to use. I'm just actually not going to be using them anymore. I have some in some of my hives now, and I'm going to be weaning my bees off of these frames too. The frames that I have found to use and that I actually think are really good are these handy plastic frames from Apimaye, USA. Now, let me tell you a little about these frames. If you can see the ends, there are no open spaces at all. No open spaces for small hive beetles to hide into. Using these, I have found that the bees don't need to propolize these as much as they would either a wood frame or one of those other plastic frames. Now, the other benefit to these is that they separate. And the reason I'm being so gentle with this is because, and I'll show you in just a second. Okay. These frames have these tabs, and these tabs, if you pull them off you know, real hard or bend them, these tabs have a tendency to break. I experienced that with a couple frames, and for the most part it was no big deal, but you just want to be so careful, you know, with these. And then what makes this easy is you can then take a strip of wax, and I say a strip, maybe about 1.5 inches, which you can probably make 3 strips out of this whole thing. 1.5 inch strip, lay it on here just like so, attach the frame back together, and you've got your little strip of wax for the bees to start laying their comb. Then you just go ahead and snap these back together. Just like that, and your work is done. Now you've got your little strip of wax for the bees to start, and I can show you one that I have here that the bees built their comb on. As you can see here, first thing I want to show you is take a look at the end here, and you can see there's very, very little propolis on the end. Same thing on this side, and of course on the other side. And actually on this one I used a whole sheet of foundation on here. You can see like at the bottoms of the ends where you can see the foundation that they didn't build on. But for the most part they built on the whole thing, which, you know, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Doesn't matter what kind of frame you're using. And it looks looks like this. It looks real good. This is a frame of honey. I'm pretty impressed with it. So there's many reasons to start using these plastic handy frames. They're made by Apimaye USA. I do know that they come in deeps and mediums. They don't have, let's see, what is that other one? Shallow. I don't even know many people that use shallow boxes. I just pretty much see people using deeps and mediums. But that's the reason that I like these. This is, you know, my personal opinion, but I would certainly like to know your opinion, if you have any. If you have any of these frames, what you think. If you think that this is something you might be interested in using instead of wood frames or these plastic frames.